BitShares is a world-class blockchain like Bitcoin with a digital currency platform boasting enterprise-level scalability and throughput with separations of power and self-governance baked in. Need the power of a blockchain with the stability of a dollar? We invented it and tested it for 3 years. Want to make a loyalty token, coupon, or shares in your business? We have you covered. Wish to add world-class development? This tech can fund your work. Whether for an everyday entrepreneur or computer-savvy code guru, BitShares provides tools to empower a world of unapologetic innovators to wield and share value with a level of freedom once thought impossible. Meet a community of such innovators every Friday at 2 p.m. UTC, led by Chris Herring and Fuzzy, to play a role in the evolution and advancement of this state-of-the-art project. Welcome to the BitShares revolution. You just leveled up. Welcome everybody to the next BitShares Hangout. Today is Friday, February 17th. It is at 2 p.m. UTC, 9 a.m. Eastern Central Time. And we come together as a BitShares community every week to talk about the technology that is driving BitShares and how the community can engage to help to evolve BitShares in the right direction. We congregate every week to work together and initiate and push forward some of the initiatives that we feel might be the most valuable to evolving the BitShares ecosystem in a way that benefits everyone who's part of it. So with that said, today I am hosting this because Chris is doing some really cool things in the background with BitShares Munich. He has a meeting. He is normally the host of the BitShares specific podcast for this on the Beyond Bitcoin network. So I am kind of a backup, and I make sure that I'm here every hangout, but I try to enable him to step up and host it. With him being gone today, I'm going to step up and I'm going to be here to run this hangout. So Chris has given me an agenda that he would like to have covered today, and I'm going to go through that agenda now. Number one, we're going to be talking about the landing page for BTC8.com. Next, we're going to be talking about witness pay increases to 3 BTS. Third, we're going to have a budget of 20,000 USD per month in the BitShares ecosystem. So how best do we invest that? Who is going to be managing the core potential team is going to be next. Or the potential core team to BitShares is going to be next. And then we're going to follow that up by onboarding documentation for BitShares and finding 2 to 3 people that will create this documentation and pay for this. So with that said, if anybody has something that they would like to add to this, feel free to type it into the chat box on the left-hand corner on the bottom of the Mumble client. We will try to add them on after we've covered these topics. If we have no requests for any other topics, we will finish after this, after the last topic on the agenda. With that said, thank you everybody for attending, and let's go ahead and get started. Real quick, Giant Crab, are you available yet?
Yes, I'm available now.
Okay. Are you able to give us some updates on the BTC8.com site that G-Chicken was telling me that you are working with?
Yes, the banner advertisement on 8btc.com is already online. And in recent several days, we at China found that obviously there are some more newcomers joined the QQ group of China community, and as transvisor, as a gateway of CNY, I have sold more BitShares in recent days. For example, today I have sold out about 40,000 BitShares. So we
Wow.
can really feel that it has some effect.
What is the
But I
increase?
now
Is can you give us a number that is increased by? Is that the number that it is increased by, or is that the total that you're selling and that it's 20,000 above average? Can you give us a little bit more information real quick?
I now do not have exact statistics numbers for you. It's just a feeling. As some people suggested, I plan to do some change to the advertisement. I will change the link to give my referral link instead. So maybe in the future we can get to know that how much people is come and create an account based on the link. And I also may ask the ABTC website to do some statistics on how many people click the link every day.
That would be wonderful. Oh, please continue. I wasn't trying to interrupt. I'm just saying that would be wonderful, Giant Crab. You're talking about helping to get some of those details from ABC BTC?
Recently, because the China government banned some BTC trade for the exchanges, so I feel now is a real good opportunity for BitShares to promote. So I just began to do some market making on the DEX on BitUSD, BTC pair, and also BitUSD and USDT pair. So I hope that this can bring more trading traffic and may help the ecosystem to grow more quickly.
What is everybody's thoughts here on that? Does anybody have any opinions? I know that Thomas here is saying that he fully agrees and striking while the pressure is on. I do as well. We know that the Hegelian dialectic exists for a reason. This whole concept of problem, reaction, solution. If you can create the problem, knowing you have the solution, you can move the masses. But sometimes it's kind of the same concept, right? Whenever there's a pain point that is reached, even if you didn't create that problem, if you can fix that problem whenever people are feeling the pain, that is the best time to do so, because that's when they're far more likely to overcome any tendencies to procrastinate or discount another potential option. So I think that it's a great initiative as well. How much does that cost, Giant Crab?
What cost? You mean the cost for do the market making?
Well, the cost for the initiative to reach out to these individuals who are in China who are being affected by this attack, essentially.
The advertising cost?
Yes, and any other associated costs.
So I can give you a number that in the past, the people in China always buy BTC from the exchanges, but now because they cannot buy BTC from exchanges, so they now do the P2P deal. And the most the biggest P2P deal website in China, we call it bitcan.com. And in this website, I can see that the price is always 2% higher than the price in the exchanges. That is the cost for the China BTC buyers.
Sure. So it costs them more to use this service than if they were to maybe use a service that was related to BitShares. Would that be maybe safe to say?
Yes. So if we can tell them that here is a good choice to buy Bitcoin, they would like to to get here because they can save money.
Well, it sounds like you have some good ideas about this, and G Chicken is saying that it costs approximately 2 BTC a month to be doing this, correct?
Yes. The banner advertisement cost 2 BTC per month, and I pay 1 BTC. The other is collected from one worker. And I think maybe the worker will be passed in the recent future.
That is a very inexpensive cost for advertising, and it's very generous of you, Giant Crab, to offer to pay half of that. So we appreciate your efforts greatly.
I can second that, Thomas. I think anybody here, I would love everybody here to give Giant Crab a thank you, and maybe we can do the best we can to make sure that his worker goes in. I think it's the least we can do to at least catch half of this cost for him. We have 20,000 USD a month. Let's use it, right?
Exactly.
And the best people that we can use it on are those who are willing to put their own butts and their own cash on the line as well. People who are giving things without asking for much in return are generally the ones that you want to give the resources to, because they use them as resources instead of entertainment. So with that said, we greatly appreciate it. With that said, is there anything that we would like to talk about on this topic specifically, or should we move on to the next topic in the agenda?
Just one other minor point of clarification. The peer-to-peer method that you're talking about, Giant Crab, I guess is similar to what we use here in the U.S. called local Bitcoins, where just individuals that want to buy or sell participate in this website that you're talking about and can find another buyer or seller through that intermediate link, correct?
Yes.
Good question, Thomas. Any other questions or comments that they'd like to bring up?
Giant Crab, would you mind maybe in 1 month to let us know how the advertisements are going and how we might see whether it's being successful?
Sorry, I haven't totally understand your question. Can you repeat?
Sure. Would you be able to tell us in approximately 1 month how successful the advertisement campaign is going?
Delta, a change. We're looking for a measurement of the change that the advertisement is yielding us.
Up to now, I have no exact answer to this question. Later, I may do some changes to the advertisement to make it able to count the clicks and also the new registered account it brings. So then I think we can measure the result of this advertisement when it ends.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's necessary to be really, really meticulous. Of course, if you are, that's better. But just even a rough estimate of how things are increasing or how the advertisement is impacting the numbers for BitShares would be really great. If you could put something like that together, clicks and things, that might be great. But whatever you can do, that's basically some way to measure whether or not our investment in the advertisement is really turning around, or whether there's other ways we can spend that money better and more effectively. Maybe other advertisement mechanisms that could be employed. That's what we're trying to gauge.
Security note says if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. I tend to kind of fall on that as well. I think that one of the things that I think we've talked about in the past has been establishing a baseline for multiple things in this community and kind of getting some statistics that we could work with. That would be extremely valuable, I think, Giant Crab. But I do agree that in general, it's probably going, if we define some metrics, I'm pretty confident as well, like you are, that we're going to see those metrics kind of point in the direction that that this was a good idea. Now, with that said, you pretty much have already talked about getting some of those metrics for us, maybe using ABC BTS. Isn't that what it's called? ABC BTS? You're going to talk to them?
8btc.com. And there's also one question is that now the picture is linked to our official website wallet dashboard page. But one problem is that the page is not so friendly to newcomers because there's no enough information for BitShares. So I will also suggest the SVK to do some changes to the page to add some information like where is our official website, where is our room, and the link to our Telegram group and also the QQ group. That will help the newcomers a lot.
That's a good idea. And to give them the easiest ways to get into our community and become an active member. I like it.
Some way that they can become educated on what this community is all about. I mean, if they're just asked to invest in it, and that's not fair. They've got to really have some information. And I guess what we're talking about here is a Chinese language website or some page that they can go to where they can get this information.
Exactly, Tom. Talkinator asks, can you tell us where the landing page is now in terms of completion? Giant Crab is offering the link https://bitshares.org/wallet/pound/dashboard. And that is what we're talking about right now. So if you are listening to this podcast after the fact, feel free to go ahead and type in that link, rewind this and play it over if you need to, and check it out. For anybody who's currently here, feel free to check out the link and give some input.
Well, now let me make sure I understand. That I just looked at the link. That's a good landing page for English speakers. Is that adequate for your market, BitCrab?
Yes, now it is good for English commerce, but for Chinese visitors, it need to at least to change the language setting manually. And even he changed manually, there's no Chinese text to do the introduction of the BitShares. So I will suggest the SVK to do some changes to the pages to make this more friendly.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Definitely.
Where would that effort? Is SVK working on that effort? Or is anybody working on providing additional changes to that page for for Chinese speakers?
I will draft some Chinese text for SVK to put on the page when the language is set to Chinese.
That sounds great. That's good to hear.
So it's really just mostly translation. Is that safe to say?
Yes, I can hear you.
So you're basically just saying that it would be helpful if we could just essentially copy it, but translate it into Mandarin.
Yes. Not only translation, but I think I may also add some information, especially for China community.
Kind of like with the links and such. Is that correct? This is talking about the
Yes.
links that you were talking about. Okay. Well, yeah, man. Are you going to be able to continue updating us on this on a weekly basis, or are you planning on joining up with this like on a monthly basis? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I can tell you from my perspective that I'm glad that you've given the proposed text to SVK to get that incorporated as soon as possible. But I would like to see that. I'd like to see a report next week from you, Giant Crab, that some of that Chinese or Mandarin text is available. That SVK's had an opportunity to incorporate that, because who knows when. I mean, I believe, if I heard correctly, that this ban on BTC trading in the exchanges in China is temporary. So we're not sure when that will be lifted. So we want to strike while we're still under under pressure to make use of this opportunity. So the sooner we can get that Mandarin text out there for your community, the better it would be.
I would also urge Giant Crab and anybody here, actually, if you let me know or let Stan know, or a small number of people who have my voting key, I will gladly vote for anybody who wants to help translate that and provide screenshots as they do it. If anybody starts this initiative, I think we can really help you out. I might even be able to give you some whale tokens from my account to help in some way, shape, or form.
No problem. The work for draft the Chinese taxes is easy to do. And in China, yes, the ban for BTC trading is temporary and will last for about 1 month. So we need to use this time window effectively.
Do you guys have any other individuals who are actively promoting this, or do you need help with that?
Yes, there are some people they are actively promoting it. For example, do you know Yao, who is also the China agent of BlockPay?
Oh,
Yeah, he is also do a lot of work on promoting BitShares in China.
well, that's awesome. If there's anybody here who wants to reach out to you guys and help, or anybody who's listening, how can they go ahead and reach you?
Sorry, I do not hear you clearly.
He's asking about, is there any way that people that might want to help with the translation effort or any manner at all for advertising, is there any way that you can be contacted?
I think maybe his internet's having trouble.
Yeah, probably.
How can people reach me?
Yes.
Yeah, you can. I'm always in the Telegram group. You can chat with me there, and you also can send me mail. Do you know my mail? My mail is bitcrab@qq.com.
So you are BitCrab in Telegram, and you are bitcrab@qq.com.
I think I am Jerry Liu in Telegram.
Okay.
And and when you send me mail, you can send to bitcrab@qq.com.
Okay. And to spell that is JERRY space LUI, correct?
I will type it.
Good deal. Thanks for joining up and giving us some updates, man. This is going to be a very beneficial thing, I think, for us to test out. Spending some of this $20K a month that we have coming in that we can utilize. And I suspect utilizing this at this point in time is a very intelligent move, but I definitely will agree with everybody here who's stated such that having some metrics that we can use to gauge the level of effectiveness will help us to improve upon the results in the future, or decide maybe if there's a better path. But I suspect that will not be the case. With that said, thank you very much, Giant Crab, aka Bit Crab, aka Jerry Liu, for everything you do, man. It's people like you guys who are helping us move forward. Now, with that said, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next part of the agenda, which is witness pay increases to 3 BTS. What is the thoughts on this? What is the updates? Does anybody have anything that they would like to bring up about this topic specifically?
Well, I looked at the CryptoFresh page about that, and it's clear that the majority of people have voted for the 3 BTS and have downvoted the 4 BTS increase. So it looks like it's on a positive side, but I'm not sure when the committee will actually make the vote or make the change to make that happen. So I'm kind of interested in the report of when that will take place. And Data Security Node, if you could comment on that, that would be appreciated. I don't know if you know the answer to that or have a pulse on that change, but that's kind of where I'd like to see things.
Now the work for the witness payment increasing is end, and finally the option for 3 BTS get the most support. So now we will go to increase to 3 BTS. I have checked with the community. We will create the committee proposal next Monday, because we need XE Rock to do this. He is out with his family, and we'll come back to do this at next Monday.
Okay, so the entire committee is not available at this juncture, and this is something that doesn't need to be pushed forward without all members of the committee present. It's generally a good idea to have them all present so we can move forward, and that's what we're kind of waiting on. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, after the proposal is created, we also need voting by the community. And the shareholders can also vote to change their vote to the community members based on their opinion to the witness payment increasing. So There is also another kind of voting which may last for about 2 weeks.
Awesome. And we could, just so everybody here knows and everybody who's listening, if you haven't already, we can set a proxy who will vote for us in the BitShares ecosystem. And that proxy can be withdrawn at any point in time. You don't give them the vote and they get it forever. You can withdraw it at any time if you don't trust them, you don't trust what they're doing, or you believe that for some reason they're not being beneficial to the ecosystem. So at the same time, it enables us to kind of help to get these votes done more quickly, to have a proxy who is open and available. Now, I will say that Xerox is a proxy who I use. I'm considering having a proxy myself in BitShares, but unless Xerox really needs somebody else to help, I might hold off on it for a little while. But Xerox is one. Does anybody know of any other proxies that they believe would be valuable who are here often? Or does anybody else here want to be a proxy for this stuff so we can help to get these votes going? Because ultimately we would like to have this go through the committee, really not run into any long gaps in between accomplishing this and getting it actually voted in, right?
Yeah, I think if your assessment that you just reflected back to Giant Crab is correct, Fuzzy, that we're just really waiting on some of these committee members like Xerox to return from their travels to actually register their vote, and once that takes place, then I think it will go through. That's my understanding, and if that's the case, then I think everything's on track. Proxy voting that you're talking about here is good to inform the community about, and there are plenty of people that they can view as existing proxies in the Crypto Fresh site. But if they have somebody in their own community that is active in the BitShares ecosystem, then they can certainly appoint them as a proxy. Any individual can be a proxy. It's just a matter of who you want to represent you, and that representation can be taken away or given at a moment's notice. So you can even have a proxy, like I use Xerox as my proxy, for example, and if there's something he's not voting for that I want to really endorse, I can withdraw it temporarily and vote for that effort, that worker, whatever, and then put his proxy back in place after that vote has been registered. So there's also that capability that you have if you want to use a proxy. It's just a matter of how much time you want to invest in keeping track of what's going on and voting yourself. That's what the value of a proxy is.
And really, I feel like being in the Telegram, joining up to this, and checking out the forums, between those three, if you're even using one or two of them, you should be able to at least stay relatively up to date on what's going on in the BitShares ecosystem. However, with that said, having a proxy that you trust is extremely valuable for the ecosystem. It just makes things, like you said, Thomas, a lot easier. Now, with that said, we're going to have to.
It has to deal with the voter apathy. There's a lot of voter apathy out there, so having proxies helps to alleviate that problem by aggregating the votes of people that can't participate as frequently. I see the biggest benefit of it.
So instead of creating a problem and asking for people to use our solution, we do it honestly. How novel of an idea. With that said, I hate to move on a little bit, but it's along the same lines here, because we have a budget of $20,000 per month, and we do have some things that could get voted in that we really need to get done. One of which we already just talked about, but the next one would be, in my mind, and what Chris and I both agree wholeheartedly on, is the BitShares documentation. It has been a great thing that Xerox did free of charge, or at least for very little. I'm pretty sure it was completely free of charge, though, with his documentation efforts. However, Xerox is very busy in the BitShares ecosystem and elsewhere. So to ask somebody who's doing this for free to really make the highest quality, top level kind of documentation is asking, I think, a little bit much. And I personally believe, and Chris personally believes, and I definitely agree with him, that the documentation efforts for BitShares should be one of the chief things that we ensure. Because if we advertise to people to come to us and they don't have an easy way of learning about the ecosystem, well, we've kind of wasted a lot. We're going to have a lot of people who are going to just be turned away by the complexity of it or the difficulty understanding things. And this is especially true for devs, because C++ and these types of coding are pretty difficult coding to learn compared to maybe some of these other languages out there. So the documentation efforts for this are imperative, and I cannot stress enough that there are competitors out there that are coming up that have better documentation that probably aren't really as good as us, but they're going to have a substantial benefit that we do not have if we don't get off our butts and fix this and get some documentation efforts really worked on. So, not to be negative or anything, but this has been something that we really, it's kind of something that we should have been, I think we're very late on getting it done, and we can never start at this point. So if people can help that and we can push forward together or even separately or in our own little ways, we can make a big difference on this front. So really all it takes is people reaching out to a couple people and really trying to get this stuff done. And with that said, T-Bone has told me about places like Upwork, where you can go out and you can hire people who will do this stuff for you as a freelancer. But the thing is, a lot of these people, if we bring them on and they get good with the BitShares ecosystem, these are the type of demographic that we really want to bring in anyway. Because if they're freelancers and they find something they believe in that they can make good money doing, you might not see them leave. You might see them stick around and create their own projects after they're done, because why not, right? These are things that we really should, I personally believe we should really focus on and not underestimate the value of. But with that said, if anybody has anything else, I'll go ahead and I'll open it up. Yeah, Thomas is saying here Xerox is addressing this with his Python tools. He has a toolkit for it, but that will help a lot to bring devs on board to have improved documentation. And Naganu makes a very good point. Mandarin translation and documentation is also going to be a very important thing, because let's face it, everybody, China has billions of people. I think it's like 1.7 billion people, and they are the place where 60% of all Bitcoin is mined. So this is very important to recognize, and we should not ignore it.
That's harder nut to crack, but yes, I can certainly appreciate how that's very important to any developers that are in the China market that wish to participate. They have a harder battle, because almost everything in our ecosystem at the development level is in the English language, and even documentation to help them along to bridge that gap would be very great, would be very much a necessary thing for them, I'm sure. But I'm not sure if we've identified some of the developers that can help to bridge that gap. That's difficult. There's a smaller subset of people that are programmers that also can know English as well as Chinese.
And there's always the option of getting those things translated by paying somebody after they've been written in one language, right? So it doesn't necessarily need to be somebody who knows both languages. But I do understand what you're saying. And with that said, we have 20,000 USD per month. This is so important, everyone. I think that we should very much consider putting a sizable chunk toward building a team that will make the documentation so beautiful that people don't want to leave it when they look at it. I mean, I cannot stress enough, this is where we suck in developers and keep them, or push them away out of fear that they're not going to figure it out. So with that said,
Keeping them as a matter of making sure that documentation, when we get it translated, stays up to date, because our ecosystem and our code is constantly changing, and so we want to make sure that those changes are incorporated, and that means that there's a pipeline that has to be filled from when the changes come out in English to when they come out in the other alternative languages. So that's also very important to keep developers of all languages attracted to the ecosystem.
That's a good point. And Chris actually mentions in the agenda that the BitShares Munich people recommend 2 to 3 people who are on it full time. And I would say maybe that's not a bad idea. Maybe $500, or $1,000 a month for them to do some documentation, somewhat part-time, part-time to full-time, and maybe we can cut that down once the documentation is largely finished, and just, pay them to update little things as they come on and keep them on board. But I do agree with you, man. Oh, Nagano's girlfriend is a professional translator. He said he will ask if she can do this. Awesome. Thank you, Nagano. This is why we do what we do. And for everybody who's out there listening, please feel free to recognize that you can be part of this too, and you can benefit from helping this ecosystem if you are part of it. And Talkinator, feel free to step up. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no problem. And Tom, as what you're saying is, whenever I'm touching any particular section of the code, I'm also trying to improve the documentation of that section of code that I'm working on.
That's very much appreciated. Thanks, Talkinator.
Yeah, and then we're going to have just one more thing that we're going to cover here that is along the lines of this, which is the managing a potential core team of developers who will work on BitShares. I know that Vikram has a worker. He is intending on being kind of like a core developer who's going to provide maintenance and updates and things like that. Is anybody aware of other individuals in the ecosystem who might be great candidates for this?
Based on what Talkinator just said, he might be one.
I would be interested.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's another person on the list. So how can we reach out to you, Talkinator, to get some more? Are you on the Telegram or any of that stuff?
Yes, on Telegram.
Okay, and are you Talkinator on Telegram?
Yes, that's right. And also another couple of people who might be of interest. Somebody mentioned Elmato is another good person.
I can definitely agree with you on Elmato. He's a bad dude, and he actually is very much connected with some people in BTC who are, and he's a very big advocate of the BitShares technology in general to them. So I would double down on that agreement, Talkinator.
Yeah, I think another appealing part about Elmato is he's also thinking about its use cases. So that combination is, I think, very useful.
Extremely useful. The use cases and marrying that with the way the code moves forward, I think, is a very, very important aspect of getting things right here.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
And didn't Elmato contribute a lot to a Spanish wallet? Isn't that?
Yes.
Wasn't he one of those developers that was involved with that?
Yes, I believe
that's correct.
Wasn't it called the Lime wallet? Am I correct on that? That was early days of BTS, but he's been here since very early.
Right. Yeah, he is currently working on a program down in Argentina called Moneda Par.
Oh, yes, and that's a project that is for donating to people who need support. Isn't that correct?
It is. I think I would describe it differently. It is more like a local currency that's pegged to the Argentine peso at the moment, and that's the short description.
Interesting, and it'll be kind of used to hand out to people who are in need of these tokens. Is that?
So
I think you are.
It's a bit asset, I guess. So it's similar to BitUSD and BitCNY, but for the Argentina peso, and that would make a lot of sense. That would be a great thing for that community down there.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and also a little bit towards what you were saying, Fuzzy. It's built on a system of social credit. So the number of units are roughly speaking, and he could describe it better, but the number of units are roughly based on credit that is willing to be given to certain people after they somehow perhaps contribute to the local economy.
That's cool stuff, man. And what better place than Argentina, right? I mean, one of the places that's really been destroyed by corruption, and their economy is really, it once was one of the best in the world, and the corruption really tore a lot of those beautiful things that they were accomplishing down. So I love the idea. I'm glad that El Mato's on it. And I really can't say anything other than I have to second that we should consider him as a core developer, because he is, not only is he very competent, but he's a very trustworthy individual. And when you have both of those together, you can't beat it. It's turning that away to me is pure idiocy. Forgive me for saying it so bluntly, but I definitely do appreciate it. So right now, Talkinator, you say you are potentially interested. You might know some other people who are interested. We have El Mato. We have Vikram. Am I missing anybody here?
There are other people also on BitShares Dev, and I don't know their status as to their commitments to other projects, but they would be other possible candidates.
Sure. Would you be willing to bring it up in the BitShares Dev conversation at some point in time and maybe bring it back to us and let us know?
Sure, I can do that.
We would love you, man. I appreciate it greatly. That's kind of how it works in the military too. Whenever you come up with the idea, you're the one who's asked to do it. So I have to apologize to you for that. But that's why we get together, right? So we can work together and figure this out. But thank you very much for helping out, Talkinator.
Sure. One last thing also, I think Linuxis mentions Alfredo, who is currently working with BitShares Munich, and he's doing good work in terms of advancing the code currently, and is a half-paid worker, as I understand. So he's doing good work there.
Thank you. That's okay. So that makes what, five potential developers right there, not including going into the BitShares Dev. Telegram, which the last I checked has 44 different devs in there. Maybe we can look into finding out a little bit more, and I look forward to hearing some updates from you. Would you feel free? I mean, would you feel like maybe next week would be a good time?
Unfortunately, next week I won't be able to. In 2 weeks, I would be able to.
Sounds good, man. Well, if anybody can get to it earlier for next week, that's fine too. But Talkinator, if not, that's fine too. We can go to 2 weeks from now.
Sure, and alternatively, I could try to collect information and just get it to you, so perhaps you could discuss it yourself next week.
Say, Talkinator, is the reason you're not going to be here next week because you're heading down south?
Yes, that's right. Are you too?
Well, yes, I am. So me and at least one other person that's present here, I don't want to mention him without his permission, is also planning to go to the Anarcho-Poco conference. So that's where we're going to be next week.
Well, make sure to represent Blockplay down there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Try to hunt down Jeff Berwick and get him to use it to buy a beer for you. I just really want to post something about how we got him on board after, and then we can talk about how he said he probably wouldn't.
Well, Berwick is a good guy. I think he's got the right attitude for crypto, but he isn't as participatory as I'd like to see him. He posts on Steam regularly, but he doesn't answer any comments. So I think his involvement is more as a promoter and perhaps an investor to a degree, but he's not as interactive in our community as I would like to see him be.
Oh, I just want to jokingly give him hell whenever when he finally buys a beer with it or buys something with it, and we can go, "Oh, we got you, buddy." Just lovingly, of course, When somebody says no, it just sometimes makes you want to try harder. That's my point. So try for us, guys. Chase him down. Maybe we can get video of you chasing him with tablets in your hands.
That would be a good post.
That would be a wonderful advertisement of humor. But with that said, I know we're starting to get into the joking area. Has anything not been covered that people feel like we should bring up? I think that we've covered some of the most important stuff here. I think maybe one of the only things I can personally think of is how much will this change in the witness pay affect the 20,000 that was calculated, that we have 20,000 USD per month that we have. Is it going to take out 25% of that 20,000? How much is that going to impact how much we have to spend? Regardless, even $10,000 or $15,000 a month is enough for us to get a lot more done than people might suspect if we're smart with it.
I wanted to suggest one idea regarding that, based on the Pirate Party in Sweden and now around the world. Their experience with something called the 3-pirate rule, which is that if any 3 pirates agree on how to spend some money, they just do it. And while we couldn't do that BitShares members, I think maybe we could trust witnesses or committee members to do that up to a certain percentage of that 20,000 a month, something along those lines, to just allow a duocracy, those who are willing to do it, get to do it. So that's just an idea for an idea.
Well, it's not a bad thought, but really for accountability reasons, you can't just appoint 3 arbitrary people to start tapping into that $20K a month. It has to be above board and documented, and that's why we have the committee. That's why we have worker proposals. All these things give shareholders an equal opportunity to participate in whether they want to promote or not any particular thing. So even though individuals like the committee members, devs, witnesses, anybody else in the community, if they want to spend their own money to do something, there's nothing that keeps them from doing that. But in terms of tapping into the 20K a month, which is inflationary, I guess, and to tap into that needs to be approved in an official, formal way.
Well, actually, Thomas, I don't think that it is inflationary, because that's coming from that huge pool of BTS that we have available.
That's a good point. It's coming from the pool of money. So you're right. It isn't inflationary because that's already taken into account in terms of what the total amount of coins out there is going to be.
And the 3 people would not be, as 3 people get together, they all agree something is a good idea, they're going to get fired as witnesses if they're consistently going on a lark and doing stupid things.
This sounds to me like something for proxies, though. Why not have a group of proxies that do this? Maybe we could even have a hangout for the proxies for BitShares where they actually discuss that with the community and make their decisions and make it obvious and transparent.
Well, the thing is that it's not really all that easy to get things approved. And the idea that Brindleswan is bringing up of having 3 people that just go out and do it, I think that's a good idea to get things done. But it's not so easy to get the ability for them to be funded from the pool. So that's the issue here, is to get that done, it requires it requires a significant number of votes to get that approved. So that's where the bottleneck comes into play in terms of having an ad hoc.
Do we know, Thomas,
I'm talking about changing the code, forking the code to allow it to happen automatically. It's not 3 particular assigned people, it's any 3 witnesses all agree that documentation we need to spend $1,000 a month on. No longer does it need to be voted on by everybody.
Yeah.
It just gets done.
It's just something that's considered foundational, and we absolutely need it. We can't debate it. There's nothing to debate, essentially.
I see. I didn't understand that your proposal was to change the way things were codified to allow this. So yeah, that's a great idea, and if you wanted to promote that idea and show the benefits of it and put a worker proposal out, not a worker proposal, but well, I guess it would require a worker proposal to change the code to do that. But you will need to get support in the community for that idea, and it's not a bad idea. Some people will be afraid that they're going to be that too many people will be tapping into the thing, which wouldn't be good. But I think it would benefit the community if we had such ad hoc, small group efforts to take place to get things done. Would be really good.
And I'm still thinking that proxies might be the perfect people because, like you're saying, Thomas, I don't remember the exact threshold in terms of the number of BTS that a proxy would have to be able to on their own vote something in. But I do know that proxies, if we got 2 or 3 of the biggest ones together, I suspect we could get things voted in pretty dang quickly if we could coordinate them.
Yeah, I haven't looked at how many votes would require to get a particular effort taken into to push forward either. So, but yeah, to make this work, of course, you're going to have a certain amount of voting power to make this whole proposal fly.
Yeah,
just wanted to get the ball rolling on the discussion. So thanks for the feedback.
Well, it's a great topic to bring up, Brindle. I greatly appreciate it, and it actually goes perfectly with what we have on the agenda for today. So it was a perfect placement of this. So I would urge you to maybe write something up, post it to BitShares and Steam it, and what we can do is maybe we can find out the total votes and come back next week. Everybody here, feel free to look into it. I'm going to make sure to look into it too, but please don't let that hold you back from doing it as well. I would like to kind of see what everybody else comes up with in terms of numbers, because we might find that when we come together and we have the numbers that they don't all match. But I would definitely like to see exactly what we've got, what we're looking at, and I think that Chris would enjoy seeing that as well. Now, with that said, if there's nothing else, we are sitting at about 57:45. We have about 2 minutes. If you guys have anything else that you would like to bring up or cover, feel free to do so now. If not, what we will go ahead and we will do is we'll take a 5-minute break to go to the restroom, grab a bite to eat or a drink, do whatever you're going to do. We're going to start the Beyond Bitcoin Hangout a little bit late here today. I do want to apologize to everybody for that. But we will be starting here in approximately 5 minutes. It's going to be a little bit late today. The reason being, I have traveled to the Philippines. I've been trying to get everything set up because I just got here yesterday after about a 20-hour flight. Crashed for a while, got up, tried to get everything set up, and Chris told me today that he was going to be unable to make it because of this important meeting that he has, and he's got some really cool stuff that's going on behind the scenes I can't unfortunately talk about right now. However, I will say that it's good news that I'm having to do this today and that he's got to step away. They're doing amazing things over at BitShares Munich, guys, so please support them and thank them for everything they're doing, because it's excellent. And there's all-stars in the BitShares ecosystem, and they are a group of them.